At long last, the big question, INFJ versus INFP, what is the freaking difference? I'm Eric Osmond, your host of today's show, and welcome to the Letter Switching Series, where we dissect a one-letter discrepancy and how big of a difference it actually makes in your personality. Or someone you know, and of course it's not you. Being an SE-dominant user, I can tell you what I see. But at the end of the day, you're going to need to use your intuition to ask yourself. Besides, these are just labels anyway. And of course, we all know that the more self-aware you are of yourself, the better you're able to help other people with their self-awareness, and the world is just a better place. Hugs and kisses. Just a caveat, these personalities are very sensitive as far as their identity goes, so let's make sure we nail this. Okay, and welcome, let's get into it. So what are the key differences between INFJ and INFP? They are similar, yes, and it seems there's no clear answers anywhere, and ChatGPT ain't helping. Sometimes we need a human. So scratching the surface, looking horizontally, the four-letter part of it, you're both introverted and intuitive, while also more likely to make life decisions from a more emotional core. Both are, therefore, feeling-based personalities. INF, introverted, intuitive, feeler types. With me so far? The real question is that stubborn fourth letter, and I mean that figuratively and literally in every single way. It's literally what it means. J is, after all, for judging, which is what the INFJ has, and not the INFP for perceiving. Well, both of these personalities are actually very stubborn, so what the heck. But let's back up and make sure we're on the same page. It's obvious that both of these personalities are introverted. They prefer to re-energize while alone. You might be able to detect a slight distance vibe from them. No matter how much they like you, they need to take a break from socializing in general. INFPs, for example, are commonly found alone. They like to be alone. And INFJs tend to get stuck in social situations. Let me out! Let me out! That's what they're screaming on the inside, but they'll never say that to your face. Either way, it's only a matter of time before either will need to step out and replenish that natural energy, that inner harmony. There are 8 different types of introverts, and if you keep any of them in a social situation for too long, they're going to start getting anxious. Fun side note, one of these personalities may have strange emotional outbursts to a point. Thinking that that's extroversion, it's not. It's just being comfortable with your surroundings and realizing that you're alive. But we'll cover all that when we get to your SE placement. Feel free to comment down below which one you think that is, and I'll give you a cookie if you get it right. And a fortune cookie if you get it wrong, or at least you get a letter right. And a cupcake if you give me a full-on explanation as to why you think that is. Well, being a sensor, and I'm sensing that it's obvious that neither of you are sensors. In fact, you're both intuitive and in your head. Daydreamers, we could say. Has anybody ever snapped you out of a daydream and you were like, oh, and then you went right back in? Yeah, well, these two are very daydreamy. Don't believe me? Look for the glaze in their eyes. That's one of the ways in which I like to determine if someone is an intuitive very quickly. You'll have a glaze over your eyes. Go on, check yourself in the mirror. Pull up your phone and take a look at that. Then look at my eyes. Do they look like yours? Is there a glaze? If you do have a glaze, then slap! Congratulations! You're an intuitive. And if you don't, your eyes are very sharp and focused and present here and now, you're what we call a sensor. The idea, of course, is that your imagination is constantly playing in your head. Your inner world is perhaps more vivid for you compared to the harsh physical reality that is outside of you. Therefore, your eyes kind of glaze over as perhaps a protective measure. It's okay, an intuitive's eyes might say. Our inner world is always there. A sensor is very present and in the moment, each for our own reasons. There's 8 different types of sensors as well. But we'll get to the different sensor types in a different video. Another way to determine an intuitive is by looking for a lag in reaction time. An intuitive seems to naturally play a scene out in their head before acting it out, creating a lag between what happens in reality and what happens in their imagination. But that's not always easy to see. After all, it's in your head. How can we see that? Well, we just kind of look for a slight lag in reaction time. Okay, moving on to the third letter, F for feeling. You are an empath after all. You have the unique ability to detect the emotional vibe of a room. But that J versus the P, it's still... Judging versus perceiving is more of a preference in behavior from yourself and others. Your need for routine and reliable structure in life versus whatever you feel like for the day. It's not as obvious to detect as your donut-glazed eyes intuitive. We have a lot of complexities to cover with such a simple question, so I hope you're comfortable.
Hungry for cookies.
And hungry for cookies. All right, here we go. Cognitive stacks, assemble. Looking vertically at what we like to call cognitive stacks, as opposed to the horizontal code that is Myers-Briggs, going to assess your inner code. There are 8 cognitive stacks. So looking vertically, the Myers-Briggs code has 4 letters, but each of the 4-letter code creates a system called cognitive stacks. 8 cognitive stacks in total. However, 1-letter difference on the horizontal code can make a world of difference. It can go from extremes depending on which letter it is, and the 4th letter is kind of extreme. The first letter, not so much. But we have a different video for that too. We'll probably link it somewhere. Anyway, each personality has a different code, obviously. How about we start off with my favorite, extroverted sensing, SE. INFJs are usually on time, or they try to be. They have an awareness that being late can cause distress to other people, and they care, doing anything they can to not cause anybody pain or discomfort. INFJs are FE motivated, not FI motivated like the INFP. An INFJ may have a more difficult time accepting a compliment, for example. Being so self-critical, maybe trying to analyze why you feel that way about them. An INFP might be like, thanks, I'm Glad you like my hair. But yeah, back to the timely SE example. SE being more or less presence, here and now. INFJs care if they're late, being SE inferior, they try not to be late. INFPs don't know if they're late. They have no idea what time it is. They're caught up in the moment. They're SE blind. It's a trickster function for them. The most offensive placement. It's that seventh function. Seventh function for anybody, we all have one. It's that thing we think we're just fine with, but when the outside world looks in and they're like, it's probably not your strongest position. This pulls them in and out of reality, sometimes with quick bursts. Hints to getting that cookie from earlier. Did you know that some people can't wink?
I did know that.
Of course you did. TI child over here. You know everything. This particular placement of SE for the INFP is why I always say that the INFP is better off as an independent contractor rather than an employee, for example. They're not going to keep to your rules or standards. They're going to act in the moment with how they want to, whatever it calls for. You can expect an INFP to be unpredictable, with an SI child duty function, acting however they feel, FI dominance, with an NE parent for however they may see at any given time. INFPs are more like a hot air balloon, acting kind of in spurts with the heat to move around and fly. INFJs are more like a kite. They have that J functionality in which they're locked down by their standards and expectations. That's how the kite flies at the INFJ and how the INFP goes about. I think that's a great analogy. Did I say hot air balloon or air balloon? Did I say air balloon? A blimp. No, they're a hot air balloon. An INFJ will probably try to reinvent your rules. They see the big picture of what you're trying to get at. But they might be afraid of being too confrontational or too present, so they'll find that time to tell you, but they always stand up for how they feel, at least eventually avoiding conflict to a point. An INFP has no problem sharing their opinion, but an INFJ will wait for the right moment because of vision and potential and caring for your feelings. They're caring for other people with FE parent with their NI vision is where they thrive. They know what's best for you, not necessarily themselves. This pulls them out of the moment, which they so desperately strive for. And that's why the fourth function is called an aspirational and inferior function. Not to mention NI itself being a critical function for the INFP. They feel that things can change at any given time, so why focus on the future? It hasn't happened yet. It isn't to say that INFPs don't find the future important. They're just critical of patterns and putting things together. Whereas the INFJ lives in the freaking future. Seeing what your future can be is kind of what their whole, oh, you can't manipulate me thing is all about. But I made a whole other video on that later. We'll probably link that somewhere. Already that P versus J is becoming a little more evident though, isn't it? One locks onto future and structure and expectation. This happened and I know it, INFJ. Versus anything can happen. The past doesn't determine the future. I can change who I am and how I feel at any given time. INFP, you see? Wow, that was a lot to take in. I think we're doing good on this one. But we're hardly scratching the surface. We need to slap you with more juicy fishes. An INFP is always questioning how they feel at any given moment. FI dominant to any parent. Do I like this? Is this true to me? Am I even real? I like that. Is this authentic to me? I don't like that at all. Gosh, it's like hugging a cactus sometimes. Both of these personality types can be very lovable. It's just that the emotional vibe is so strong it can overrule practicality and functionality for other types. INFJ, for example, their FI is in the critic slot. Their relationships are very complicated because of this function alone. That live or die need for harmonious, perfectly authentic connection with somebody. That combined with another way of looking at it, self-critical perfectionism on the same slat, that can make or break an INFJ in general. Sorry if that sounds a bit harsh. Warning, if you cross a line for an INFJ who is seeking for that perfectly authentic and harmonious relationship, I warn you of the INFJ door slam. But feel free to comment how your particular INFJ door slam is compared to somebody else's. You'd be surprised that they are different. Every INFJ has a little bit of a different rule set when it comes to boundaries and what they're fed up with. Tag gum, this is good stuff. I need some water. I'm out of water. But look, is our sponsor being seen here? Stop. Audio check. Boom! Side note, submariners. The INFJ eye glaze is a little different than the INFP eye glaze. The INFJ's eyes look more like, I care about you, I just don't want to be here. And the INFP has more of a lost in thought, heavier eyelid, daydreamer look. But more physical attributes in another video. Let's just keep going. Side note about this INFJ door slam versus this two rose-colored glasses thing. Why is it, even with your visionary NI dominant mixed with your SI demon to know, combined with your FE parental care, yet you still give total strangers the benefit of the doubt, even if you know they'll hurt you. And the next thing you know, your keys are gone and so is your car. True story. Yet you still believe that they could change. Forgiveness is a strange word for the INFJ. Please let me know in the comments your explanation of something like this, because I'm honestly baffled. Many believe that Jesus is an INFJ, by the way, so feel free to add your thoughts on that. But an FE parent conforming to the needs of others, combined with the authenticity checker of FI critic, and of course the locking function of your J-like personality, INFJs are SI freaking demon. INFJs are built to handle trauma. They absorb it. They ruminate in it, and they're built to never forget it. They have rules for their forgiveness. INFJs remember the good, but especially the bad, for protective purposes. Again, INFJs are locking type of personality types, and INFPs are not. They'll just let it go. So INFJ, use your NI dominance. Please use that function, and it is okay. Figure out a way to be respected and listened to with that function, and that will beef up and strengthen your NI, and you won't have to compensate with FE. Now, another way to compensate for an INFJ is overly developing your TI, which is the childish function for you. Basically, it makes you study incessantly, non-stop, videos like these, books, all kinds of things just to learn more about yourself. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you know, it's it's never enough. So that's an overcompensation, I believe, if an INFJ doesn't feel validated in the other functions, specifically their function and ability with NI, vision. Dang, I'm good. I'm writing a book on this, link in the description. Last note, if it's still a concern for you, and that fourth letter still seems very liquid for you, I call it a liquid letter here on this channel, but if that's the case, I would ask you to probably take a look inside and some things in your past for the T word, some trauma regarding that fourth letter. Is this even helping you guys? Do I need to apologize for anything, by the way? Was my tone off? Did we have a disconnect? I'm sorry if so. If there's anything else you'd like to add or take away from this, feel free to put that in the comments, your insights, your stories, an INFP's version of a door slam, for example. I'd like to hear all kinds of stuff because that just adds to helping other people. And you never know who you're gonna help in the comment section, honestly. And you're teaching me as well, so thank you. And if you want us to compare a different set of types, let us know. Don't forget, we have t-shirts. Get yours on our shop, link in the description. Ooh, it's the soft kind. This is the ISFJ one. ISFJ, help me get back on track. I'm a little lost. Okay, so for a bonus thing, I mean, if I'm just ranting here and I had a second, I would say, we covered the biggest obvious differences as far as like sensing. INFJs are just more outward focused in their relationships, more people focused. INFJs are a little more structured. INFJs are the guardians of authenticity and boundaries. INFPs are a little more inward focused. They're more scattered, which allows them to be quite creative. INFPs can be quite forgetful, actually. INFPs have more pleasure in creating rather than finishing. INFPs have a difficult time finishing projects because they're very perfectionistic. Both of them are very kind and warm. INFPs will do what they want when they want. INFPs hate being told what to do. I'm Eric Osmond. Thanks for joining us here on this letter switching episode for INFP versus INFJ here on Personality Guide. These two are very unique. They're very close. They're very close. But if you really look at this and you kind of like compare side by side, you'll notice the difference. You're so funny. I did not think of that. Dang, I love you. Okay, you're gonna put that in the outtakes, aren't you? Yes, you were recording. I love her. She's great. You're fantastic.
Add lines.
I added that line in there because I thought it would be good. I'm a P personality. You were a J personality. This is a perfect example. Bert, we should put that in.
By their own rules, which they may also break.
I'm going off script and she's getting mad. Let me out!